Welcome to the Trustbound Podcast.
Awesome. So for today, in our third episode of the Trustbound Podcast, we have a guest of honor, Rick Roberge, a man that requires no introduction. It's funny because, right before I hit recording, you were talking about a bunch of super relevant stories that just bring us to the center of it all, of not just the podcast itself, but the Project 200 webinar that we did earlier in the year, and just the importance of relationships. So I guess a question for you would be, when it comes to relationships, because right before we had recorded, you had mentioned this gentleman that you had known for a long time. He sold his business, and now you're coaching him for him to basically learn how to sell again.
It's okay. He started a business 20 years ago.
Okay.
Then sold it. So he was a big shot and he's rich and that kind of thing. But now he wants to start a new thing, and he needs to start selling again one-to-one. He says, I've been at it for 3 months. I don't have any customers, and I'm running out of friends. So that led to a conversation.
And you also said something very cool that I'm actually going to check out right after we finish. And it's the drug concept of go-to-market. I guess, can you repeat for me, of course, but to anybody that's listening and everybody that's listening, I guess walk everybody through what you and I were talking about.
Here's what's happening. I think this is from my little world. Okay. I come from a background of sales. I've sold stuff. I've sold one-to-one. Seldom have I stood in front of 27 people and tried to make 27 sales. Although I have done a couple of trade shows where you've got people in front of you and I'll take one. There's that kind of stuff. But that's exciting and it's a lot of energy, but it's not what I talk about. And what typically happens, the sales process starts when somebody says hello. That's it. And it's at that point where you're either going to qualify or disqualify this person as a prospect. And disqualifying doesn't mean that you're going to lose touch with them if you want to keep them around as a friend or a resource or something like that. If they qualify, then it means that they have a problem that I can solve. And we continue down the road to see if they want it solved. Now, actually, it goes back a little bit further. When HubSpot first started, HubSpot said, rather than try to sell, use SEO. Figure out how people are going to come looking for you and figure out the words, and then use the words in the posts and all that kind of stuff and attract people to you. And what that did was it switched people from a one-to-one mentality to a one-to-many mentality, a marketing type mentality. And lately, what I've been seeing is as a result of that mentality, a lot of people have made a ton of money in attracting. I have probably shouldn't. You can feel free to edit this, but there are a lot of companies that have several hundred or 1,000 salespeople. Okay, and they've been in business for 10, 20 years. Look at how many salespeople they actually had to recruit to get that 1,000. And what you realize is that there's a lot of sales that gets thrown to the side. They don't qualify because the go-to-market stuff, the one-to-many stuff attracts people, and these salespeople don't know how to talk to somebody that's not ready to buy. They don't know how to talk to somebody that's just gotten curious a little bit, or they also can't relate to them. They can't ask good questions. They can't develop a relationship, and they don't develop trust because when the salesperson, when the salesperson says hello, sometimes the prospect says, "Hey, you look like somebody that wants to buy something." That's what they hear when they hear the hello from the salesperson. And it's because the salesperson is transmitting that, not even saying anything. What they have to, what I found is that if you start, there's an old commercial, Cheryl, she's blonde, and then Farrah Fawcett did it too, but she was the second person. It starts with one girl in the middle, and it's about shampoo. It says, I told two friends, and then there's two more. And I told two, and they told two friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. That's the way I've always worked. I get a customer, I make them happy with me, I make them trust me. They say, "Hey, Rick helped somebody. Rick helped me. Maybe he can help you too." That's an intro. I get another one. I get another one. I get 12, 20. And before you know it, you've got a waiting line of people that are looking to talk to you because they know somebody that trusts you and introduced you to them. That's the whole concept of, that's what's missing in today's world with salespeople, in my opinion. Go to market is almost like a drug. Everybody wants to, they see the Mark Roberges of the world, great guy. I don't know who his father is, but he did a good job.
By the way, I said that Rick needed no introduction. If people don't know this, Rick is Mark's dad. And if you don't know who Mark Roberge is and you're in tech, then go on LinkedIn.
Or you're in sales.
Exactly.
But they have this thing. Everybody wants to be them, a gazillionaire, a very successful person. It's very hard. Look at the number of Elon Musk there are in the world. It's a whole lot easier to make a very nice living as a one-to-one salesperson than it is to have all the frustration that that guys like Mark and Elon and all the other really rich billionaires have. I'm not a billionaire, but I live at the beach, and it's a good life.
Definitely.
Did I go too far astray there?
No, man, it's perfect. So, and I just feel bad that I didn't press record once we started, because you were also talking about this the go-to-market concept, and go-to-market experts, and then the actual word of go-to-market that is like a drug. And you mentioned the LinkedIn post that I'm going to read right after. And it's funny because when I was at HubSpot, like circa 2016, 2017, 2018, we were building the go-to-market motion without even knowing what go-to-market was. And even after my life at HubSpot and other companies, and the reason why I started itogai and this podcast is because I started just connecting the threads together and realized that everything is connected. It's like, man, you and I met because David Torres, who was my manager at the time, referred me to you. David knew Paul Rios. Paul was the gentleman, you know, two great friends of mine today. Paul hired me at HubSpot. I guess or Paul learned about me because of a person that we had in common. And it all like flows through relationships. And then we worked together. Actually, you fired me the first time. I'll never forget that. You fired me and you sort of like pushed me away. And I guess had me, you know, when you go fishing and the fish that really like bites back is the fish that really you know, that is worth it. I kind of feel that our relationship started that way, and it was very, very worth it. But you know, we've known each other for what, like 10 years now, maybe more.
Oh, yep. I would say
Yeah, and
2014, 15 in there somewhere.
yeah, and we worked together twice. But it's funny, like in the 10 years that I've known you, I've never considered this relationship like a business relationship. Even though like I paid you a boatload of money, you helped me make a boatload more. You know, I wrote about it, you wrote about it. And I think that when I think about not just itogai but the podcast itself, and based on what you were talking about, go to market as a drug, I feel that is what's lost today. It's like just when you think that the market and solutions and the problems and everything cannot get more saturated, it gets more saturated, and there's more noise, and there's now more AI. You know, more AI than ever, more outbound than ever. Inbound is broken, and there's one thing that really hasn't changed, and to me is just the I guess rawness. I was looking for the word, the rawness of relationships, because to me relationships are true, and it's like no bullshit. It's like if you trust somebody and that person is part of your inner circle,
They could
like
tell you the truth. It's a wonderful thing.
exactly.
And it doesn't ever, you know, being it, one of the things that you need to be is real. You.
Mm.
There's a I don't want to get too far down this path, but there's an article I wrote that's called Barefooting versus Bootstrapping. That's the title. And the gist of it is that if somebody were to walk, if my grandson were to walk into this room right now, I would turn the computer like this, and I'd say, Bo, meet Mauricio. Mauricio, meet Bo. You'd say, hi, Bo, and he'd say, hello, Mauricio. And the reason that I do that is because I want both Mauricio and Bo to understand that the Mauricio that knows Rick, the Rick that Mauricio knows is the same Rick that Bo knows.
Mm.
I wouldn't do anything to you that I wouldn't be able to tell my grandson about. And when you're like that, people are real with you. So can I extend your lineage a little bit? Because you
Yeah.
talked about you and Torres, right? And Rios. But before Rios and Torres, there was Matani and Caputa. And those were the guys that introduced me to Rios and as a matter of fact, I introduced Caputa to Mark. And the next thing I know, he's working there. And Matani at the time came to me and said, Rick, what do you think about me working at HubSpot? I said, go do it. Dan McAdam, you know, he worked at HubSpot. He used to work for Curlin. He said, Rick, what do you think about me working at HubSpot? I said, you should get out of here quick. But it's real stuff, and you care about people and you want what's best for them. I've also told people you don't want to work at HubSpot because they're not the right mentality, because I know what HubSpot's looking for at that time. So it's incidentally, the way I look at my network, my acquaintances, it's kind of like a tree, okay? And my professional goal, it isn't anymore, because look at how old I am, and I like not working too. I have a lot of things that I do that aren't involved with work. I still do some clients when they're fun and interesting, but when I was very active, I looked at my relationships like a tree, and every day of my life, I needed to do two things. I needed to start a new branch, which meant I needed to do cold calling or door knocking or something to meet somebody that my network doesn't already know, and start a new branch off my tree. And the second thing that I needed to do was make another tree bushier. What that means is I needed to get somebody who was in my network to refer me to somebody else who was going to be a branch off of theirs, which means that Caputa introduced me to Matani, Matani introduced me to Torres, Torres introduced me to you, and none of those introductions was a single. Caputa introduced me to hundreds of people over the years, as did Matani, as did
Even
Torres.
even I remember, man. Like
You introduced me to Nico. The Nikos, yeah.
yeah, the Nicos, so Nico Giraldo, Nico Ferrero.
Tiago.
I can't remember.
No, Tiago came from Torres.
From Torres, and then Jesse, Stefano, Fiorella, everybody. I can't really, like, when I think of the HubSpot LATAM, Jose Martins, Karina, it's like Machado, John.
Yep.
When I think, yeah.
Caputa also introduced me to Carol Mahoney.
Okay. Wow.
And Carol Mahoney, I helped her start her practice back in 2015. Now she's a coach just like me. And occasionally we bump into each other. People know each other, but typically they're either going to choose her, they're going to choose me. We don't work with the same clients anymore. But the point is, all of these people that we're talking about do good things. And all of these people that we're talking about typically have a other-centered mentality. They want to help the person. They want to be real, and one of the things that I'm proud of that it worked out that way.
And of course I know this because you taught it to. I mean, you taught it to. Oh, and there was another thing that I was thinking. Mark, if I'm not mistaken, Mark met Dharmesh before he met Halligan, and then Dharmesh introduced Mark to Halligan, and then Mark ended up working at HubSpot, and took HubSpot from 0 to 100 million.
Yep.
Run rate, something like that.
Mark actually had a startup of his own. He was funded, and while he was there, he met both Dharmesh and Halligan at MIT. They were fellows, and he was getting his MBA. They were, I think, for over a year, told him, leave your business, come with us, we'll make you rich. They saw a talent in him. Now, he had never sold anything before. But he had his startup, which he was working at like a good entrepreneur should. Eventually, he went over to HubSpot, and I was really proud. 2011, I think. He got Sloan's award for making the best use of a Sloan MBA in sales. And when he went up there, he thanked Halligan for saying, "Come on, Mark, stop with the pencil and the calculators. Let's go sell something." And he thanked me for letting him listen to all the calls that I used to be doing when he was a kid growing up. He said, "How can you not get something out of that?" And he thanked his wife for putting up with him long hours and all that kind of stuff. It was a good thing. And I was proud that day. So there's a lot of rewards to being really good at sales. It has nothing to do with going to market.
Yeah. So I know this because you actually taught it to me and pretty much a bunch of your former clients. And we talked about this, like I mentioned, we did a webinar about this not too long ago. But how do you keep track of all those relationships? I guess, how do you implement Project 200?
So keeping track of the relationships is different from Project 200. Okay, implementing Project 200 is talking to people, and then, and I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever, but deciding whether you want this person to be the type of person that you talk to once a week, or that you talk to once a month, or that you talk to once a quarter. And it's simply because of the value or how much, and it's a two-way street regarding value. Because if chances are that if they're going to be valuable to you, you are also going to be valuable to them. So you want to, and that's so essentially at first you have to talk to a couple hundred people. And as you talk to the people, put them on a list, A, B, C, weekly, monthly, quarterly. And it's not forever. It's for right. And it's a decision. I want to talk to this person next week, or I don't want to talk to this person for a month, or there's something that you need to do a month from now, and so you put them down for a month, or quarterly, just because I don't want to lose track of them. Eventually, you don't mind losing track of them. Like Caputa used to call me on the way to sales calls and on the way back. And we strategize going in, we debrief on coming out. There's small wonder that he's as good as he is. But I interacted with him yesterday, and I think the last time before that was maybe a month or so ago. He's busy, I'm busy, and there's not a whole lot of reason. So every once in a while we just catch up. It's almost always personal. It's almost always personal at this point. There's not a whole lot of business that happens. And he's got some good people. He's surrounded himself with some pretty good people, so he can build his business. But Project 200 is all about developing without a little bit of boring stuff, the 80-20 rule, 20% of your contacts will give you 80% of your business. It's a rule, the Pareto principle. So 20% of 200, that's 40. We decide that we want to find 40 A's. 40 A customers, we expect that they will give us 80% of their business. 80% of our business next year. The 40 B customers, that's the next 20%, they'll give you 16% of your business if you do the math, right? And then the other 120 quarterly people that you'll touch quarterly, they'll give you 4% of your business. But you're spending your time talking to the people that are most valuable to you. You're also moving people in and out as things change. If I talk with Mauricio once a week, if I'm working with Mauricio, for instance, as a client, he's an A customer, and I want to make sure that I talk to him every week. even though usually we'll be talking to each other 2, 3, 4 times a week, right? So, but you're still an A, and I expect that you will probably replace yourself this year. That's the goal. All of your imagine what would happen if the 40 customers that are the most valuable to you replace themselves every year for the rest of your life. Would you ever have to work again? Probably. I mean, you just take a number. So it's that smooth. But first, you have to get everybody to understand that you care. You also have to be working with people that actually care about you and others, because there's an article somewhere where I wrote the beneficiary of a good referral. Okay, there's 3 people involved with a referral. It's the person that says, "Hey, Rick, call." Then there's Rick. And then there's the person that's being referred, the person I'm supposed to call. Who is the beneficiary who's the biggest beneficiary of the of a good referral?
In my mind, it's the person that is going to be called, because like and actually in the last episode I had a conversation with Tomas. So Tomas is the co-founder of Mavity. He's the full stack agency partner that has been working with me for this entire time, and he is one of the best friends of one of my best friends that I met him at HubSpot. And when Tomas and I connected for the first time, I told him, it's like, I feel like, of course, like, you're a stranger to me, I'm a stranger to you, but I feel that there's this invisible, implicit trust that has already built around this conversation, because I don't want to burn a bridge with my friend, and I don't want to just give you a shitty experience.
How does Tomas feel about your friend that made the referral?
Absolutely amazing.
And in my opinion, that's the thing that drives the world. So the person that probably benefits the most is the person who's making the referral, because they elevate themselves from friend to resource. It's beyond trusted advisor. It's they are now a resource to the person that's being referred, and that relationship is typically strengthened and by the referrer, referred person thanking the person that did the referral. But everybody benefits in the situation, and it's not about the money that the person that's doing the selling makes, because the other two benefit a whole lot more than they do. And if you do it right, I read a book a long time ago, Frank Betcher, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. It was written in 1947, before I was born. And he was watching he was watching an undertaker, funeral director, set up for a funeral. And he asked, "How many chairs do you set up?" He said, "Well, the average person knows 200 people that'll come to their wedding or come to their funeral. So I set up about 200, plus or minus." So here's what I look at. When I meet Mauricio, when I meet David, when I meet anybody, what I'm about to do to them is going to get relayed could potentially be relayed to 200 people. There are a lot of people out there that don't like me, and it's probably because I blew the first contact with their friend, and they told 200 people. Okay. On the flip side, there's a few people out there that do like me, and they will. That's probably because I handled the relationship with our common connection well. 200 people. What would you do anything differently if you knew that this person was going to affect 200 people, possible relationships, future relationships? Would you do anything different? Ask yourself the question,
Exactly. And that's why we decided to, I guess, give this, invisible, I don't even know how to call it, motion, process, thread, path. It's like when you go outbound is you calling somebody. HubSpot then, went after the word inbound. It's like when companies come to you, make yourself, or allow yourself to be found easily and for companies to come inbound. And that's, when I think about my life and my relationships and even my success and the roles that I've had, not just as an operator, but, as an investor, as an advisor, as a mentor, the word trust is everywhere and the word relationships is everywhere. And that's where I feel that the trust bound concept just comes to life. Like, regardless if you're coming inbound or you're going outbound, if there's a person in the middle, if there's trust, if there's respect, that's the whole or the core of trust bound. But when you hear the word trust bound, and I guess we'll end it with this, what comes to mind, Rick?
Trust bound? In somebody is getting the benefit of the doubt. And that's sometimes all you really need. Salespeople, there's a lot of people that don't like salespeople. There's a lot of people that don't like dentists. There's a lot of people that don't like politicians. But there are some that do like them. And if somebody that doesn't like a salesperson, doesn't like salespeople in general, talks to Mauricio, and Mauricio says Rick's different. If that person trusts Mauricio, he's probably going to say, let's see if he's different. And that's an edge. That's the open door. And it's yours to blow. Don't blow it. Don't be pushy. Don't be salesy. Just be real.
Be real. Don't push it. Don't blow it. Rick, I could spend, man, the rest of the afternoon. I could speak for you, to you for days. I think we have a decade of stories to tell, perhaps for another episode. Any closing thoughts?
No, and feel free. I'm easy to find. I'm on LinkedIn. My phone number is pretty public, or they can reach out to you, and you can put them in touch. But I'll answer any questions. Anybody can have 15 minutes as long as I'm giving them. Okay. Talk soon.
As always, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If this resonated, pay attention to where trust has already been doing the work for you. That's where momentum starts. Learn more at itogai.com. See you next time. I'm Mauricio Suarez, and this is the Trustbound Podcast.